All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios with myself, yourself, and anybody that's watching and listening to this. It is a solo show today. I'm lying, though, because it's not necessarily a solo show, because we're here together. This is what we do every single week. As you guys know, Trevor is a very dedicated father, the best dad I know, besides my own, which is also Trevor's dad. So we learned by the best of them, and Trevor is dedicated so much that he is at a volleyball tournament with his daughter Scarlett, as you guys all know. She is the next up-and-coming volleyball star in the Kansas City region, so we hope that you guys will send Trevor the best support, send Scarlett the best support as they are out there. And Trevor's leaving me here in the studio to fend for myself, because I know you guys are all coming for my neck this week. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll have some good conversations. But whether you're live streaming, podcasting, YouTubing, however you guys are watching, however you guys are listening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time, as we have an awesome show for you today. I say we because we are going to be joined by a guy who has quickly become a good friend of mine, one of the better Chiefs content creators out there today, a guy that took on the pale raisin himself, Skip Bayless, and absolutely obliterated him on the Jubilee podcast show. I don't know exactly when it happened, but it happened a little while ago. Nevertheless, it has aged like fine wine, or as I said on Twitter this week, it aged like Salma Hayek. GOAT, by the way. It is. He's done great things on Twitter. He takes on any and everyone at any time he finds the time to do so, and I want to get him on the show today. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the world of sports, when it comes to the Chiefs in particular, and there is a list that my guy Matt Pratt put out there this week that I want to address, that I want to talk about. He has a quarterback rankings that I definitely am excited to get to, and he's going to be on our show in about 30 minutes or so. So strap in and get ready, guys, because it's going to be a fun time as he joins us this week. How's everybody else doing today, guys? I want you guys to get in the chat. I see that our normies are already in here. Dust Nord's already got some questions for us. Our guy Steve Ledbetter's in here. Julia Gulia's in here. And, all the regulars are in here, guys. Get in the chat. Get in here, and we want you guys to be a part of the show. I tell you guys every single week, this is not a show where I talk at you. It's a show that we talk together. We want you guys to be a part of this show. Tune in and chime in, as I say. So if you want to be so kind, go to our YouTube channel, The Spoken Podcast. Hit subscribe, hit like, share, notify, all the fun buttons they got for you. The most important one we want you to push today is the comment button. Get in the comments today. Chime in. I'll get to as many as I possibly can today, guys. I am, like I said, doing a solo act here in the studio, so it gets a little tricky sometimes, but it's not that we can't handle. Like I said, we're going to get to your guys' questions and speak it. We have an entire segment dedicated to you guys. Whatever questions you guys have regarding the world of sports, we get to, we comment on, and we do our best to give you the most authentic takes imaginable. So go ahead, get on the YouTube side of things right now and get some questions in. If you have some questions for Matt Pratt, ask those as well, and we'll get to those as well. But he's going to be, like I said, be on the show right around 11:30. So I want to get to some thoughts, though. Before that, I want to get to some things that I have been really basking in, or rather seething on. It's kind of a mixed bag, honestly, of how I'm feeling about some things, and I want to get to that right now. So without further ado, it is time for Lance Rants.
Gotta scream! Yeah! We're back to motion! The moon doesn't do me! Woo!
So we had one hell of a Chiefs game this last week. Trevor and I, we gave you guys our thoughts. I know a lot of you guys gave your thoughts as to how that game was going to go. And, I did the raw numbers as to how I expected that game to play out. I looked at the Ravens being a team that had high hopes going into the season. A lot of people considered them to be the best team in the NFL coming into this season. A lot of Super Bowl hope and hype surrounding this team. And as the season kicks off, you see this team have a 15-point lead with 5 minutes to go in Buffalo, and you think, wow, it's a very impressive victory. 1-0, in Buffalo, that's a statement victory. Maybe this could be potentially that year where the Ravens decide to do something a little bit different. And then 5 minutes later of game time, the Bills win the game because the Ravens cannot seem to get out of their own way this season with just mishap after mishap, mistake after mistake, blown coverages on defense, and now injuries. But see, that didn't stop the national media and a lot of people just in general from still picking the Ravens to beat the Chiefs, who were coming off their first victory in New York, coming back to Arrowhead against that Ravens team on an afternoon Sunday game. In fact, last I checked, at kickoff, the Ravens were 2.5-point road favorites, which means they would be roughly a 6-point favorite at home against this Chiefs team. Now, again, we all know the Chiefs have not had a great start to their season. But we also looked at the injury report, and we saw that as the Chiefs were getting healthier, getting Xavier Worthy back for the first time, and the Ravens having a litany of injuries, specifically on the defensive side, that did not stop almost everybody from picking the Ravens to win this game. And again, at kickoff, they were a 2.5-point favorites. I want you to remember that part because the Chiefs clapped that ass. And I think this is the perfect time to remind people that two things can be true. That's a statement that I always find so much truth in, ironically, is that two things can be true. The Ravens came into that game absolutely banged up. And they got even more banged up in that game. Now, Lamar Jackson's supposed to miss this game this weekend against the Texans, may miss more time. They lose Roquan Smith. They lose Marlon Humphreys, who's too busy doing podcasts instead of focus on game film. I digress. The point is, this Ravens team was very banged up. They got even more banged up. And yes, that played a role in the Chiefs beating that ass. 100%. No one, I think, anybody that's looking at this from a realistic perspective, no one's denying that. Everyone can accept the fact that the Ravens being banged up played a role. But the Chiefs executing and scheming things up correctly and getting Xavier Worthy back was also a big reason why the Chiefs won this game. Why they looked their best offensively in maybe a full year. Both things can be true. Both things are true. But what I don't want to hear, and what I'm not going to hear, is people talking about how it was the injuries of the Ravens that was the sole reason or the biggest reason why that game went the way it did. Because again, we knew this Ravens defense in particular was banged up coming into this matchup. We also knew that when this Ravens defense wasn't banged up, they were dead last in a couple categories across the league. So even when healthy, this Ravens defense wasn't good. So the math checks out that they weren't good at all in this game against the Chiefs. But again, this did not stop anybody from picking the Ravens. We even saw comments from several people out there at the national level that were saying that this Ravens team is built as constructed, with the injuries considered, to win multiple playoff games, Colin Cowherd. We heard Mina Kimes talk about how the Chiefs just aren't good enough right now to beat a team like the Ravens. We heard Greg Jennings say he would take Lamar Jackson in this game over Patrick Mahomes because he doesn't know if Patrick Mahomes can rise to the occasion of being great this early in the season. Yeah, that's a real quote. You can find that yourself. But I think there's also some people out there, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, where they're bending the knee. They're conceding to the fact that the Chiefs are back. And wouldn't you know it, it's one of the most unexpected characters out there. Our buddy and my former Twitter foe, Marcus Schlereth, decided to go on the Rich Eisen show and be very candid and very humble about what he saw from the Chiefs and why he believes they're back.
Through 4 weeks, Mark, before I let you go here on this Monday, the team we're not talking about enough. Could be 1-3 with a chance to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Could be 2-2. Could be 3-1. Obviously, there's only 2 4-0 teams right now. But who are we not talking about enough? Mark?
I'll tell you, Rich, I was so excited to watch the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs. So excited. And, and I was,
yes.
you know me, I was poking the bear and I was sending things out on social media like, hey, the record, when they were 0-2, I had the record up, and it was glorious. For a time, it was just absolutely like I had found the cure for ED. It was the Chiefs struggling. And now all of a sudden I watch them play Baltimore and I said it last week on the Singing Truth podcast. Like, there was nothing they'd done well. They can't block anybody. They won't run the ball. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look like the same guy. They don't have a deep threat. All of a sudden, Worthy comes back. They're throwing it over the top of the defense's head. They're running the ball. They're protecting Mahomes. All of a sudden, Travis Kelce's open again. Like, I just was like, I watched that game and my heart sunk. I'm like, oh shoot. The demise of the Kansas City Chiefs was probably vastly overstated, and they look like they are ready and poised to chase down that division crown again, which makes me want to vomit because I was celebrating. I just celebrated too early.
Oh. Chef's kiss, boys and girls. That is so satisfying to hear. That is so satisfying to see from a guy that not just 2 weeks ago was sitting on his platform and basically throwing dirt on the Kansas City Chiefs, talking about the Broncos and talking about how the run is over. And even he knows. Because he played this game. To his credit, even though Schlereth has said so much stupid shit over the last several years, the man knows football. He knew, he said, and there's an old video I can try to pull up for you guys later of him saying that Josh Simmons was his favorite player in this draft. And he was so pissed the Chiefs got him. It makes so much sense that all this is adding up the way that it is. And the people that know the game, when they saw this performance from the Chiefs, they knew right then and there, damn it. The league had a chance to bury him. If the Ravens win this game, if the Ravens beat the Chiefs in this game, you can have that fair argument. I would have listened to people that said, maybe the Chiefs, this just isn't their season. Maybe they need to figure out some new things going down the road in 2026 and beyond. They need to change some stuff up. I would be willing to listen to that if they found a way to lose that game. But because of the fact that not only won this game, but had such a profound victory in this one by the way they played, especially offensively, something everybody's been waiting on. That is what I think got everyone's attention, because everyone said last year and the year before the Chiefs aren't beating teams convincingly. It's not the style points. People say the style points don't matter. They very much matter in conversation. Football conversation, they very much matter. How the conversation goes, where it's directed, how it's guided, it very much matters. And style points were on full display in this one. Everybody was getting fed in this game. And you saw the difference of this offense just having that one piece, that one difference maker in Xavier Worthy, what it does. This is why I said this is the biggest reason why the Chiefs won the game and won it in convincing fashion. The injuries did play its role. There is no doubt about that. But this had everything to do with the Chiefs having their shit together, having their offense at least closer to health than ever before. Now, before we have our guy Matt Pratt on in a few minutes, guys, I'm so stoked to get him on the show. This is the first time he'll be on the show. There is some thoughts that I wanted to add when it came to this Chiefs draft so far. I think that they've already made such an impact on this season. Brett Veach did it again, in my opinion, guys. If you look at this, so they had 7 picks, right? And 5 of those picks have already made legitimate contributions to this season. Josh Simmons is the starting left tackle for this team, has been since day one of training camp. Okay, so that's the most obvious of them all. But then you're looking at studs like Noel Williams, Ashton Gillotte, Brashad Smith, and Omar Norman-Lott. All are playing legitimate roles for this team. Even more so, my guy Noel Williams, who I told you guys, and Ashton Gillotte was my favorite pick out of this draft. But look at these stats right here from Noel Williams this season so far. 47 defensive snaps, which isn't a lot. He's starting to get more and more playing time as time is going on. But 40 coverage snaps, 8 targets, 2 receptions allowed. That's a 25 completion percentage allowed, guys. 10 yards allowed, 2 passes broken up, 39.6 passer rating, 92.3 defensive grade, first amongst all cornerbacks, 93.7 coverage grade, first amongst all coverage cornerbacks, amongst all cornerbacks. So if you look at these numbers, guys, this is, again, a short sample size from a player that I've been banging the table saying this guy needs to get more playing time, especially as Kristian Fulton has been out. It looks like Kristian Fulton's been practicing all week. He'll definitely get back. So him and Nolan Williams will probably be bouncing back and forth. Nolan Williams will probably be bouncing back and forth with Jalen Watson as well, who, by the way, is also playing incredible football. He knows he's on a contract year. He's trying to get paid by the Chiefs or by somebody else we don't know yet. But this is vintage Veach right here. This is why, and I talked to our guy Matt Pratt, who will be on the show in just a minute. This is why I told him on our previous conversation we had on the 65 Toss Power Talk Show, this is why the Chiefs don't pay corners. Because Brett Veach is so damn good at getting these dudes in the draft. I mean, he traded up 10 spots in the third round with the Patriots to get Noel Williams. And you're already seeing why. This dude is a difference maker on the outside. He is shutting down wide receivers. This is just another notch in the belt of Brett Veach and how he's able to draft. Even with late first-round picks on an annual basis, he still finds those gems in the day 2 and day 3 picks. And it's going to continue to happen. You're seeing Ashton Gillotte outperforming Charles Omenihu. Now, that's not saying much, but Charles Omenihu, to his credit, is a veteran the Chiefs invested money in multiple times. And Ashton Gillotte is outperforming him already a month into his NFL career. That is also praise to Ashton Gillotte. Brashad Smith looks like the best running back in the Chiefs running back room. That's not saying much as well because this running back room's been pretty much ass. But when he's been given opportunities, he's making the most of them. He looks like a guy that is comfortable in his own skin, that is comfortable in his jersey. The lights aren't too bright. The field isn't too big. The game isn't too fast. He looks like a guy that belongs. And even though he's a 7th-round pick, have we not seen Brett Veach go and get a guy out of the 7th round and become a starter for a multiple Super Bowl championship team? Because he did, and he may have done it again. Brashard Smith might be a legitimate starting running back in this league. I know that sounds crazy to say right now, but everything I'm seeing from the kid already, and we heard one of the biggest minds in football, if all football knowledge, and Greg Cosell, go on the herd this week and say that very same thing. Keep your eye on Brashard Smith. The kid's got juice. Former wide receiver, now converted to running back. This dude understands offense. And the Chiefs, somehow, someway, always find these guys out of SMU. Got Rashee Rice out of there. Now they got Brashard Smith. 2 dudes that I think this offense can and will be built around for years to come if everything goes as planned. But I got to give my guy Brett Veach, because he's been catching a lot of flack this week, man. And I need to give Brett Veach a lot of credit for what he's done with this offense. And I have to pay homage to what he continues to do. Now, we had, speaking of the 65 Toss Power Talk Show, we had our guy Pat Mahomes Sr. on this last Tuesday. If you guys haven't got to watch that, definitely check that out some point this weekend, because it was a great conversation. My guy Shaggy Shane and I had our guy Pat Mahomes on the show. I wanted to get some quick thoughts on some of the rhetoric we're catching as well when it comes to Matt Nagy, when it comes to the scapegoatism that I think that has befallen on Matt Nagy. I think a lot of unfair treatment has been given to him, even though he was the OC in 2022 when the Chiefs led the league in scoring explosive plays. Patrick Mahomes had maybe the single greatest season by a quarterback ever. They won the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes won Super Bowl MVP, but I guess we forget about that. I asked Pat Mahomes Sr. his thoughts on Matt Nagy and the job he's doing.
Well, I think he probably talks to Patrick more than anybody. So he knows what Patrick like. He knows what type of players he likes. So to me, he's doing a great job. I mean, like I said, we've had a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of holes that we needed to fill. And now that they're filling these holes, the offense is starting to run a little smoother. You mentioned the drops. You mentioned, the left tackle play. You remember mention, different things. Yeah, Andy calls it, but I can guarantee you that Nagy has a big influence on what's being called. He's giving suggestions. Andy's going to listen. I mean, that's what has made him, successful those years. Yes, he draws them up, but I also think that he goes into the room and says, what are you comfortable with? He asks Patrick, what are you comfortable with? He asks Matt Nagy, what are y'all comfortable with? And they have to agree, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is good for me, this and that. So I think he's done a great job. I know Patrick spends a lot of time with him. Patrick goes to, I think, his son's games sometimes there, the high school games and stuff. So I know Patrick likes him. So as far as I'm concerned, he's doing. I mean, it's hard to argue with a man that's been to 3 straight Super Bowls, no matter how it looks.
Yeah, see, I wanted to ask that question intentionally because I needed someone who's a little bit closer to the situation to kind of give some perspective to fans out there that have this idea that Matt Nagy's not doing a good enough job. We have to understand that this is a guy that has to play second fiddle to not only Andy Reid but Patrick Mahomes, because those guys are going to be always the ones that get credit when the offense is clicking. Even more so, guys like Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, guys like that are always going to get the credit. Matt Nagy's name is only going to be brought up when things are going wrong. And that's the thing that I needed to get some clarity on from somebody who's very much in the know, which I think Pat Mahomes Sr.'s dad, or Patrick Mahomes Jr.'s dad would be somebody who would very much know that. So I have some other videos that I want to get to, but you know what? I'm not going to waste any more time. We have, I've been telling you guys, we have a great guest on today, and I want to get to him right this second. I don't know if he can hear me or not, but I am ready to get to him. So this is a guy, like I said, that is one of the best, I think one of the best content creators out there in the Chiefs community. This is a guy that takes on everybody that's at the national level, including, like I said, the pale raisin himself, Skip Bayless. I want to get to him right now. Let's go ahead and bring our guy in. Let's give it up for the one, the only, Mr. Matt Pratt. What up, Matt Pratt?
Hey, thank you, boys. It's awesome to be here. Lance is world famous in the kingdom. Before we get started, I do want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Ashton G, rookie D lineman. Ashton, believe this or not, is from Boca Raton. He went to the same exact gym I go to right now, CrossFit Hype. Shout out Rob Thomas, best gym owner on planet Earth. I did not even know this till we drafted him. And when they draft him, I'm sitting next to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my girlfriend. And she goes, "Oh my God, his mom goes to our gym." And I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "No, I've seen him before." So I want to give Ashton a shout out. I'm holding it down at CrossFit Hype for you, brother.
Hell yeah, dude. Hey, so it's funny you say that because he was my favorite player out of the draft for the Chiefs. And when I was watching film and I was watching his interviews, I have this just weird way about me, man, that I'm always analyzing like people's faces and mannerisms, and I was like, he reminds me of somebody, but I can't figure it out. And Trevor was looking at him too, and he goes, "Yeah, he kind of looks like Steph Curry, doesn't he?" I go, "Yeah, but it's like there's like a Teen Wolf vibe to him as well because he's so hairy." I'm like, he's Teen Wolf Steph Curry. Like if you look at him, think Teen Wolf, but instead of Michael J. Fox, it's Steph Curry that plays the role. You can't unsee it. So you're welcome in advance next time you look at him, Matt Pratt. Just letting you know. But I was
talking to a couple. What? Sorry, my bad. There's a couple buddies who, he obviously grew up in Boca Raton, and they were telling you this kid was 14, 15 years old in the gym, squatting what grown men squat. I'm talking what I squat in my 20s, what world-class athletes squat. He is a freak of nature, and it's really cool to be like, wow, I'm a Chiefs, not a pun intended. I'm a Chiefsaholic. And because of that, for someone to know something about someone the Chiefs drafted before I did is quite rare. And I know everyone gonna be mad when I say this. My fiance or my girlfriend, she's from Boston. She is a Patriots fan. She knew about a Chiefs draft pick before I did. I was a little embarrassed, but I understood the situation.
That's fair enough. You know what I want to get to right now, dude. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Saturday, dude. You've been nothing but gracious to us. Shaggy Shane and I had an absolute blast with you a couple Tuesdays ago. Definitely want to get you back in the rotation again, man, because I'm somebody who very much respects somebody who's not afraid to not only challenge the notion, but to give insight that I think that very few people are bold enough to do so. And look, man, I didn't realize this until yesterday.
Real quick, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just real fast, I want to just, if anyone's not watching 65 Power Toss with Shane and Lance, go watch it. Unbelievable. Let alone like the most, authentic Pat Mahomes Sr., are you guys kidding me? Come on. Like, that's awesome. Like, go watch it. Go check it out. It's worth your time. Every week, I'm like, my God. And it's, guys, the cool thing about it is, and I've been in this game for a little bit. I've sat down with some, pretty famous people. When you sign $1 million contracts to talk about football, they put up walls. What's cool about Lance and Shane, there's no walls, guys. They're asking the questions you want to hear answered. Go watch the show.
That means a lot, dude. Thank you so much for saying that. And that's, again, we recognize real recognizes real, as they say, bro. And I definitely see that in you. And that's why, like I said, you went toe to toe with one of the biggest antagonists, I think, too. And I hate to say this because I don't know if he's your boy or not. I doubt he is, but that's always something I've had an issue with people like Skip Bayless. I think there's a certain level of dishonesty in the national media that I think drives us crazy, which drives us to the point to ask the questions and to have the conversations that people really want and need. I think that we get spoon-fed a lot of crap we don't actually want, which is why, like I said, I want to jump to this something I didn't know about, that you actually have a list of your top 5 quarterbacks of all time. And that's where I want to kind of start off before we get to our Chiefs conversation. So this is our guy Matt Pratt's list. This is what he put out last night. So top of the list, obviously Tom Brady, and then he puts Gap, then Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, and Drew Brees. And then he does make sure and put down there, I believe 15 is the best quarterback of this generation, and it's not close. Now, that is the part where you and I will 100% agree. But I want to get your kind of build this list again, man, from like, if you were to like break it down to a molecular level, explain to the audience here why this is the list that you have and why the list looks this way.
Sure.
Are you there, Matt?
So before I dive into this list, I want the kingdom to hear me. I need to hear what I've lived through, okay? I lived through John Elway. I lived through the Lynn Elliott game. I lived through the no punt game. I lived through the D Ford game, the Andrew Luck 28-point comeback. Marcus Mariota catches a touchdown pass to himself. I listened to the no touchdown game against the Steelers where we scored 2 no touchdowns and we lost. Okay. I lived all of it. Okay. And now we have Let's Run Wasp. The pass heard around the world. Yes, I'm stealing from Nick Wright. Better than a bye. Back to back. Can make it work with anybody. I love 15, boys. Okay. No quarterback in 7 years has gotten out to a start the way this guy's gotten out to a start. It is unrivaled. Okay. Now, and don't kill me, Kingdom. Can you really track down Tom Brady in 7 years? And I want everybody to think about that. Okay. And I want all the Chiefs Kingdom to let's roll reversal here. We're Pats fans. We won 6 Super Bowls and all these all-time records with Tom. And we heard about a guy who's off to an incredible start in 7 years, won 3, and saying he's already better than our guy. What would our defense be to that? Okay. Tom has all the all-time records. Tom is a 7-time world champion. Tom Brady took over a dumpster fire New England Patriots team and turned them in every year to a team that has a possibility to get to and win the Super Bowl. I'll even go as far as to say this. I think Tom Brady should get way more credit than Belichick for the dynasty. That's my opinion. I do. Okay, especially looking at what Belichick's done since Tom left. And then going to Tampa Bay in his first year. I won't talk about the actual Super Bowl 55 game. It hurts me too much too. And win it in his first year as a wild card, going on the road, taking out Drew Brees, taking out Aaron Rodgers, and then taking out Patrick Mahomes. It's one of the most incredible runs by a 40-year-old quarterback, the most incredible run by a 40-year-old quarterback of all time. Now, can Patrick Mahomes run him down? Yes, absolutely. It is on the table. You think if Patrick has another 7 years like he just had, we're not really talking about this thing now? What I'm saying is it's premature. Let's pump the brakes. Let's see what happens over the next 7 to 10 years. Do I think in 7 years, me and Lance are on this podcast going, hey, we're there, baby. We're right there. Yep. I think it's definitely on the table. I'm just saying, hey, let's pump the brakes. What Tom did for 20 years is pretty incredible, pretty unheard of, pretty elite. I think most of Chiefs Kingdom, or at least the majority, half and half, probably agree with me there. Where they're like, hey, we got our guy. Let's roll and see what happens. Probably 2 and 3 is where I get the most flack from Chiefs Kingdom, and I'll dive into that. Peyton Manning was a 10-time All-Pro. I don't think any other quarterback, including Tom, ever did that. That's pretty unheard of, guys. Like that is year in and year out, high level, elite quarterback play. That's pretty insanity to me. Again, I think he can get by it? Of course, absolutely. I would also argue that if Peyton was in any other era, he would have at least one more ring, 3, maybe 4. If Peyton had 3 rings, would we look at him differently than we do today? That's an honest question. Maybe not. I certainly would. And the last one with Montana is the one where Mahomes is going to pass here very quickly. We're talking end of this year, end of next year. It's going to be a done deal. He won 4 Super Bowls in 9 years. Only other quarterback to do that has been Tom so far, with the exception of what Patrick's probably going to do here in the next 2 or 3 years. Joe was excellent for a 9-year stretch. Patrick's been the best for a 7-year stretch. At the end of that 9-year stretch, when Patrick finishes year 9 as a starter, I think all I'm saying, has there ever been a quarterback in the history of the NFL that in 7 seasons we said was top 4 all time? Maybe Tom. That's it. That's my only take.
Look, I think that you clearly have thought this through. That's why I respect the hell out of it, because you're somebody that it doesn't just say something like that and just looks for reaction. You back it up with thoughts, opinions, actual facts, stats, things of that nature, which is again why I respect it. I want to work from 3 to 1, if that's okay, because the Montana one is the one that I probably have the I guess biggest issue with, and the only reason why I say that, and it is respect to what Joe Montana was in his career, was insanely clutch. He was obviously a winner, 4-0 in Super Bowls. That matters to the optics. That aesthetic of being undefeated in Super Bowls is a big thing to a lot of people. The thing I always look at is context of how someone wins a Super Bowl, because we look at like who's won the most Super Bowls of all time. It's obviously Tom, then it's Montana with Bradshaw and guys like that right there at the 4 number. I think those are the only 2 guys that won 4 Super Bowls outside of Brady winning 7. Man, a lot went well for Joe in that regard when it comes to the winning aspect, because he had an offense that was so damn revolutionary in Joe and Walsh's offense that no one could really pick up on it for about 10 years. That West Coast offense was, or sorry, Shula. I said, yeah, Shula was the one that had the West Coast offense, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Is that Shula?
I think Shula started it. I think Walsh ran with it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and now Andy's taking it to a whole nother level.
Yes. And I think that was a big advantage for Joe, but I'm not going to take that away from him, because you still need to have the right quarterback to make that offense work. But what I will say is, if you look at the 4 Super Bowls the Niners did win, man, a lot of that had to do with their defense. Four Super Bowls, the most points they ever gave up in a Super Bowl was 21, and they gave up on an average of 15.7 points per game in those Super Bowls. And I have to ask the question, okay, if I have the most revolutionary offense to date, and I have a defense that's holding opponents under 16 points per game, I have a feeling a lot of guys are probably going to win Super Bowls in that regard. And also the fact that Joe, and I know it's a different era and things of that nature, but Joe never throwing 4,000 yards in a season, had only 30 touchdown season. It ended in a kind of a disappointing way. I know he had a very bad injury that took him out for a full year. He played decent with the Chiefs. They got to the AFC Championship, lost it. I just feel like there was some left on the table, or there was some meat left on the bone with Montana's career. When you look at some of his peers, like Dan Marino, who was throwing perennially 4,000 yards, right around 40 touchdowns, I feel like Joe never really took it to that next level. Even though he was very clutch, did win 4 Super Bowls in 9 years. I feel like if we're just looking at the players 1v1, I don't know if there's any debate who the better player is between him and Mahomes. That's what I look at, because if we talk about if you take this player and take him over here, it obviously goes to hypothetical places. But I would like to believe that if Patrick Mahomes had a defense that was holding opponents to 16 points per game, he's going to win 4+ Super Bowls, in my opinion. I think if he had, with Andy Reid and the advantages he has there, he's going to win more Super Bowls. I think that if the Chiefs, if we were to say, hey, for the next 5 years, the Chiefs are going to go to 3 Super Bowls and they're going to hold their opponents to less than 16 points per game, I have a strong feeling the Chiefs are going to win all 3 of those Super Bowls. Would you agree on that one?
Yep, you nailed it.
All right. Okay. So
nailed it. Here's the thing with you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, my bad. Here's the thing, Joe. It's this age-old argument I'll give you. If okay, let me clarify this, because again, this is me. There is a difference between all-time great and player I'd want if my life was on the line. To me, those are two different things. My life is on the line, okay, and I pick one quarterback. They win, I live. They lose, I die. It's Tom Brady. It's Patrick Mahomes. Y'all can keep the rest. I don't need anybody else. That's it. There's no, and I'll, before I make my decision, are you going to, like, that would be, at that point, it's that close between the two. Okay. Everybody else, not even half. It's the age-old argument. Okay. Like, and the one argument I'd throw at you for it is just to ponder. Okay. It's the argument. I could say that Gronk had 2 or 3 years that were more dominant than Kelce had. Travis Kelce was better for a longer period of time. Like I said, with the Montana Mahomes thing, anyone can really say anymore. It's one of those things where it's, okay, God forbid anything happen. Let's say, you know what, Patrick, in the words of Nick Wright, Patrick Mahomes decided to retire and go be an employee. Look at their career. Okay. What I'm saying is we need a little bit more data here, a little bit more time here before we're willing to go there. I think that Patrick Mahomes 1,000% this is going to be, and this is going to be a 2-horse race before this thing's over. It's going to be the conversation we're going to be having half a decade from now is, okay, now it's there's only one more guy to catch. Can he go get it? Yeah. But we got to get there first. And the way I describe it, March Madness, okay? We're in the Sweet 16 right now. Got to get to the Elite Eight. Got to get to the Final Four. Got to get to the National Championship game, okay? That's where we're at right now. And I think it's or holes in golf. Hey, we got more holes to play. That benefits us. That's where I see this.
Yeah. When it comes to, and I want to get to Tom, and then we'll move forward with some more Chiefs discussion. But when it comes to Peyton Manning, real quick, I'll throw this. I think that when it comes to Peyton, I think that we're looking at. It is a longevity discussion between him and Mahomes, because I think that if we're going to look at even the playoff side of things, it's clear as day that Mahomes has been the better quarterback between those two. But you're not wrong. Peyton, a 10-time All-Pro, 5-time MVP, which is the record. Regular season-wise, I think he's still got Mahomes beat. And I think that it is all just longevity based when it comes to Peyton and Patrick. But when it comes to Brady, this is the question I want to ask you, because you're not wrong about anything when it comes to the records, the MVP, the Super Bowls, everything that you address with Brady is true. The thing that I think gets left out with Brady, though, and his legacy is the cheating scandals. And that's something I feel almost responsible to ask those questions, because we look at baseball, we talk about who's the greatest players ever. I always say the best player I ever saw was Barry Bonds. I think he's the greatest baseball player I had ever seen. But when I say that to people, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is steroids, and he cheated the game and things of that nature. And I have a whole take on that. But we talk about that in any other sport, about how that can ruin a legacy of a player, no matter how great they were, how long they were great, no matter what. It's always something that they use against it. But for some reason, that doesn't get used against Tom Brady, at least not in a sense of it actually bearing weight against his legacy. And I have to ask that question to you, because you are somebody that believes he is the GOAT. I think he obviously is the greatest player ever because he's the most accomplished. But when it comes to best versus great, I think it's two different conversations. I want to get your thoughts on that.
That's, I hear you. Before I say this, I hear you. This is where we're going to split. Okay. Spygate, I put on Belichick. I think if you want to sit here and tell me that Bill Belichick tried to cheat as much as he possibly could, I won't push back on you. I won't. If you see me on Twitter, you follow me on Twitter, I am an advent Andy Reid is a better head coach than Bill Belichick any day of the week, twice on Sunday guy. Here's the thing. And the big one's Deflategate. This is the one everyone wants to point to. Do I? Yes, absolutely. I think everybody in the world was aware that those footballs were deflated. Okay. Do I think they were intentionally deflated? Probably. I think most of the evidence that comes out said that, yeah, let's get a little bit of these out, you know. Do I think Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was aware of the per square inch air pressure of a football before the game? No, I don't. I don't think he was aware of that. I think he grabbed the balls and he said, these feel a little stuff. These feel stuff. Can we get some air out of them? And he took some air out of them. That's what I believe happened. No different than Lance, you and me. This doesn't sound very good. Let's jack it up a little bit. That's really to that nature. Now, you are responsible for knowing that stuff. So I'm not against holding that to him. Let me ask you this question, okay? And you tell me, if Alex Smith would have done it, would anyone cared?
No, I don't think so. At least not to the level that I think some of us might care, because of the fact that he doesn't threaten the GOAT status. You know what I mean? It's like when people talk about finals records. Nobody talks about Dirk Nowitzki's finals records in comparison to Jordan's. They talk about it with LeBron because LeBron and Michael are, always the ones that are put up in that discussion. So I would agree with you on that Alex Smith doesn't get brought up in that discussion the way Tom Brady does, because he doesn't impact the GOAT status. He doesn't have the cachet that a Tom Brady would.
Sure. No, I hear you there, and I hear what you're saying there. It's again, if Patrick did it, yeah, if Patrick did it, it would be all over ESPN. The point I'm trying to make here, okay, when it comes to Deflategate and people holding that over Tom's head, is it would not have 90% of the quarterbacks do it, but nobody cares. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, well, yeah, who cares? I think Deflategate was more about who it was and not what it was. Okay. And I think it was, and I'm unpopular for the Chiefs Kingdom in this opinion. Okay. I think it was a message from Roger Goodell to the NFL, not just Tom, to the NFL. Nobody is bigger than the league, including Tom Brady. And if you do any, we will 100% punish you for it. That's why when people are like, the NFL's rigged for the Chiefs, I was like, Roger Goodell hung Tom Brady out to dry for something that, really didn't affect the game. The Patriots blew the Colts out. They ran the ball like 35 times. That is where I look at it and I'm like, you think Roger Goodell, who suspended Tom Brady for 4 games, is going to go on a limb here and do a conspiracy theory to help out the 21st biggest market in the NFL? It's so silly. It's so stupid.
I could not agree more on that. That's the best point I always try to make to people too. I was like, you guys do realize that if this was a league of rigging, first of all, they'd have to be a little bit smoother with it. Second of all, wouldn't you think they'd be a little more invested in their coastal regions? Like, they would make sure the Chargers are winning on a consistent basis. They make sure the Jets were actually a good franchise. Like that's what would be a lead up or adding up in math regards of, hey, this is actually why you would rig things. It doesn't make any sense to do that in this market. I'm with you. Now, I'm glad you segued to that, because no, go ahead. Okay. Matt, this is what I want.
The only thing I would say is like
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. All you.
So when we talk about this Chiefs and Ravens game, I started the show off by saying that both things can be true. The Chiefs or the Ravens obviously had a lot of banged up players. The defense wasn't good, and that played a big role in the Chiefs winning the game they won the way they won it. But I also think that because the fact the Chiefs finally got right and got healthy, got a real difference maker in their skill positions, and Xavier Worthy back on the field, and the Chiefs were able to scheme things the way they would actually want to, since they've been trying to since week one. I think that also can be true, that played a big role in this game going the way they did. And I love this revisionist history that we're seeing amongst a lot of national media people, where they're acting like, oh, well, because the Ravens were so banged up on defense, that's why the Chiefs won, and won in convincing fashion, and that's just the end of it. They're not giving actual credit to the Chiefs getting right simultaneously, and I think that's just a dishonest conversation from the beginning, which therefore makes it a non-starter in my viewpoint. But I've already given my thoughts on this. I want to get your thoughts on this Chiefs-Ravens game. How did it play out the way that it did in your eyes? Do you think it's something the Chiefs continue to build off of, or do you think it's just a situation where we got our guy back, we're facing a bad, banged-up defense, and that's just how that game was, and that might be a standalone?
Yeah, so I'll respond with two things, and then I'll get into kind of my analysis. The first thing I will say, in the words of the most obnoxious fan base in the National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles, belt to ass is what I say about that game. And I told anyone who would listen, team, and we're going to have no problem in this game. And I was right. And I knew I'd be right. Okay. The second thing I would say, remember, I want to say it's the fifth one, where the dude comes back and he sees Baltimore and he goes, he's back. The Chiefs are back, baby. And I knew they'd be back. The Super Bowl. And I said, this is a different offense. I was like, they figured it out. Get Hollywood in space. Get Trav in space. Throw deep balls to Thornton. It works. No, he's been doing. He almost lets them score on the opening drive. He's almost like, okay, do whatever you want. I don't really care. He's like, oh, that's what you're going to do? Check this out. And he just shoves it right back in your face. So what he's going to do to you the whole game. That Thornton kid, you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. He can play. He looks good. Worthy's a stud. And he's only going to get better. The thing that Worthy presents that a lot of other players don't present is not only that game-breaking speed, it's speed in space. If you watch that kid, he gets a step on you, that reverse that they ran. And they ran that on the Ravens other way. It looks like he's jogging and he's outrunning everybody. It is his speed in space is tricky. I would almost say it's fine. I think Patrick has one interception in 4 games. That'll work. Just keep doing that, and we're going to be very tough to beat moving forward.
Absolutely, man. And that's kind of what I want to talk about moving forward. That's what I want to get your thoughts on with this upcoming Monday Night Football game against the Jaguars. I haven't really given my thoughts on this game yet, which is why I want to segue to you first. This is a Jaguars team that I find very interesting, because I think that there could be some fool's gold here. And I try to be respectful, because I think Liam Cohen is a good offensive mind. And, if things were going a little bit differently, I think I'd feel a lot better about saying the Jaguars are a good team. If, like, Trevor Lawrence was playing better football, if Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't dropping every pass going his way. Outside of Travis Etienne, this offense has really struggled. Now, I will give them credit. Their defense has played well, but I also think that can be very circumstantial. What I mean by that is they've played some pretty bad offenses this year so far. And so I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I don't want to put any words in your mouth. I want to get your overall viewpoint on this game. What are you initially looking at in this matchup from both the Chiefs and Jaguars perspective, and how do you ultimately see it going down?
Sure. So, yeah, here's my immediate thoughts. Okay. And I looked at this today. T-Law and the Jags have played Spags last 3 times. Here is their point total: 17, 20, and 9. This guy, not only is a struggling offense, he's running into a defensive coordinator and a defense that he's struggled against. I think for the Jaguars, 17. I think the defense is solid in Jacksonville. However, let's look at the offense as it's played. A banged-up 49ers offense, and then when they ran into a backup quarterback in Cincinnati, it hung 31 on them. I think the Chiefs moved the ball soundly. I think that Andy now has a feel for his personnel. Patrick feels way more comfortable in the pocket with Josh Simmons there at left tackle. He's starting to trust him there. I think they moved the ball. I think we're maybe more. It's just, similar to last week. I just don't see a way where as long as the Chiefs take care of the ball, Jawan Taylor stays out of penalty, we'll get to 24 and 24 with that defense and how T-Law and that offense has struggled against Spags in the past. And then we got a real test with Detroit, and I'm looking forward to that game a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So if you were to give me your X factor players. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said on both sides of the ball for the Chiefs and making opportunities and being a standalone game. We know the Chiefs are going to try to make probably another statement. From the sounds of it, though, you're probably not expecting a fireworks type game to repeat like they did in the Ravens game. But just give me a couple X factor players in this matchup on how the Chiefs can move to 3-2 on the season if they all play well, and who are the guys that you're going to have to stand out in order for that to happen.
Sure. So defensive side of the ball, where are you at, Greek Freak? Chris Jones, we know how good he is. We know how good he can be. Week 2, we played him in Duval. Chris Jones was a wrecking ball in that game. It was a welcome back game because he sat out week when we went down there. They're not going to let him do that again. Expect a lot of double teams, a lot of running back help. What do they got to do to keep Chris Jones? So now this is where George Karlaftis has to be why we took him in the first round. I don't think he'll have any problem with it. He's always around the quarterback. He may not be sacking the quarterback, but he's always around it. I think that he has no problem doing that in this game. I'd like to see that. I expect them to put McDuffie on Brian Thomas Jr. side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, I'd love to see them feed Smith and start running the football a little bit more. That kid can play. I like what I see there. As far as next factor, though, I know it's cliche to say it, but if they're going to play man-to-man with Trav, let's start throwing. Why not? If I'll take my chances with that there. Start feeding 87. Start hitting him in there. His fiance just dropped a new album. Happens there. And last but not least, I'm going to keep picking on him because he's got a contract where he should be picked on. Game. Don't grab jerseys. We're going to be fine.
Yep. I'm going to have to agree with you on that completely. And yes, I did hear the news that album did drop. I've not listened to it. I'll be honest with you, before they started dating, I couldn't name you a single Taylor Swift song. I'm not hating. It's just not my cup of tea. So anybody else that's out there that's enjoying her songs about wood.
Her country stuff was all right.
Yeah, brother. But you know what? Hey, Matt, dude, you taking any time on a Saturday to come and hang out with us is something I don't take lightly, and I very much appreciate you doing this. So what I want to do is, as a send-off, I want you to let the people know just how you started doing what you're doing. Give them your social media platforms. Let them know how they can find you, where they should follow you, because I think everybody that's watching and listening to this right now needs to be doing that. I genuinely mean this when I say that you're one of the more respected voices out there, in my opinion. You're someone who keeps it real and authentic, and that's something I always admire about people out there in a world of disingenuousness. I think that's a word, but just let the people know just briefly, man, if you could, or take your time. It doesn't matter. How you kind of just started being a content creator in the Chiefs community in particular, and where they can find you on all the platforms, bro.
Sunday, against when we played Detroit. And got some content ideas that I'm very, very. I won't let you guys fully know what it is, but I think you'll like it. There might be some change my mind. We might be setting up some tables with some takes and just talking. As always, thank you so much for having me on, man. I love talking Chiefs football. I'm excited.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, that's what it's all about, and we'd love to have you back. Like I said, I know that the 65 Toss Power Talk Show is definitely going to have you back. And yeah, man, just keep being great. Keep pumping out content like that, and we will be in touch. And like I said, everybody, please follow my guy Matt at Matt Talks Things on Twitter, Matt Pratt on Facebook. You guys can find him. Like I said, he's a part of the Spoken on Facebook as well, so you'll see him chiming in as well. Give him a like, hit him with a friend request or whatever if he's into that. Regardless, follow his work. He's one of the best ones out there. Matt, thank you so much for hanging out today, dude. And like I said, it'll be soon when we get you back. All right, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. God bless, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, bro. You have a great day. That is our guy, Matt Pratt, as I say. We really appreciate his time. I apologize if there's any audio difficulty on that, guys. I was trying to figure that out while we were doing the show, but that's just a part of live streaming. Sometimes it happens. Thank you guys for hanging with us. Please go follow my guy, Matt Pratt, at Matt Talks Things on Twitter. One of the better voices out there, voice of reason. Makes his own lists. That's something you guys know I'm big on. I make sure and always give you guys lists of things that I believe in. He's a thought-provoking guy. He's not there for hot takes. He's there just to give you the takes that might have a little temperature to them, and that's okay. So I did want to jump back in before we get to Chiefs and Jaguars preview. Some of the thoughts that we got from Pat Mahomes Sr. on the 65 Toss Power Talk Show this last Tuesday. I was asking him about the running back room. Pat Mahomes, I wanted to get his thoughts on the running back room because, let's be real, he has a son that plays quarterback for this team, and I'm sure he wants to see a balanced offense around his son so his son doesn't get a lot of hits on him where he doesn't have to run and scramble around like it's already January and February. He wants to see his kid be protected just like I want to see his kid be protected. And I asked him, what is his thoughts about the running back room, and do they need to make a move to upgrade at the running back position? These are Pat Mahomes' thoughts on that question.
I think we're going to be okay. I think Pacheco looked good the other day. I always like Kareem. But you got to also remember, those guys aren't getting but 5 or 6 carries, 5 or 6 carries a game. And any good running back, it normally takes about 10 to 15 carries before they get loose, and get comfortable.
Sure.
One bright spot that I did see was what I really liked was the Rashard Smith. I think that he played a great game the other day, and I think that he's going to be very excited. It reminded me a lot of McKinnon when we had him, and maybe him being able to do some of those things. But I think once the line gets comfortable with itself and they get to run block and we start feeding that ball to them a little bit more, then it's going to be different. And also with Worthy, being able to open that field, or him and Thornton being able to open that field up down the field, those defenders are going to play a little bit farther back, and I think it's going to open up more holes for those guys to be able to go. So I'm happy with them right now. I think that we're going to be okay. Like I said, I'm really excited about Smith. You know, I seen him play a lot because he went to SMU and everything up here in Dallas. So I've seen him play. So I think we're good right now. I think now is just, let's get Rasheed back and, and get him, incorporated into the offense, and then just see what we got there. And then, if it's necessary to do some things, I think that would be the time when you would do it.
So Pat obviously has a very optimistic approach on the running back room, and I think that, and I don't want to speak for Pat. You guys heard him right there when he talked about the addition of Rasheed and how let's get him back into the fold, and let's see how this offense goes and how they do after Rasheed is back in the office, if you will. And I agree with him overall. I just the way I see it though is even if everything goes swimmingly when Rasheed's back and this passing game is moving at a pace and a level it hasn't since 2022, even if that is the case, which would be great, and I am somewhat expecting, I do want to see the offense have a balanced attack, because if we remember something about 2022, which is a season that I just very much cherished, both from the draft and the way that season went as a whole. The reason why I believe that offense was so fluid wasn't just because they had good weapons around Patrick Mahomes and a solid offensive line. It was because they had a real threat out of the backfield. You had a rookie in Isaiah Pacheco, who was that burst energy running back, but you also had Jerick McKinnon. And Jerick McKinnon, although wasn't a great all-time running back by any means, but he fit this offense, and he was this flash in a pan, if you will. And I mean that in the most respectful way, where he was this guy that for a 16 to 24 month span was just such an answer and a cog for this offense as a whole. And he fit that role as that dual threat back, that veteran presence in the backfield that gave Patrick Mahomes a blanket of security of if there's a blitz, if there's a really good pass rush in front of him, he can dump it off to this dude, and this dude's going to get yards. He's going to make plays with his feet. He's going to have reliable hands. He's going to run routes. He's going to get those yards that you need out of the backfield. And I think that Kareem Hunt's that short back presence, that short distance presence that they have on this offense that they don't have to worry about. I don't think that his role is going to be threatened by any means, but I have to be honest with you guys. I'm not expecting Isaiah Pacheco to be healthy for 17 games. I don't expect Pacheco to ever turn back the clock and be the guy that we once knew him to be, which is this guy that can get you 25, 30 yards on a single rush because he's so fast and bursts through the gaps. I don't see that guy anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't expect that to happen again. And Rashad Smith might play a Jerick McKinnon-esque role, but again, it's a lot to ask out of a 7th-round rookie. I don't want to see it all be dumped on him, which is why I would like to see somebody come in here and be that mentor for Rashard Smith moving forward. I'd like to see the Chiefs go and get a 1-year rental, trade a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick for Alvin Kamara. I'm not budging off that take. And in fact, even more so with the offense looking good, I want to see the Chiefs capitalize on that and add another presence to this offense to ensure that this offense continues to look good. Yes, when Rasheed is back, I'm expecting the receivers to look awesome. I'm expecting Patrick Mahomes to put up high-octane offense. But we know that in this league, especially as it gets colder and you're trying to make another deep run in the postseason, hopefully to a Super Bowl, you're going to need reliable assets in the running game. You're going to need guys in the backfield that can make plays. And if Isaiah Pacheco is not going to be healthy, or at best just won't be as effective as he once was, which is all right because he's a 7th-round player in his own regard, then you need to go get more assurances. The Saints are about to be 0-5. Okay, I think they're going to lose to the Giants this week. Their season's done. And they got a 30-year-old Alvin Kamara who's going to be owed $18 million in dead cap next season. I think they want to move off of that. And I think they'd be willing to take a 4th-round pick. I'm not saying that Alvin Kamara's, jovial about being moved. I know that there's a lot of reports out there that he'd love to stay in New Orleans, but I'm sure he'd also love to win. And that's something he's never done before. So from his perspective, from the Saints' perspective, it makes a lot of sense, but I think it makes the most sense from the Chiefs. The Chiefs know that another Super Bowl is within their grasps. And I think they'd be willing to move off of a day 2, day 3 pick in order to ensure that that happens. And how do you ensure that? You give Patrick Mahomes as much into his excess as possible. Give him another weapon. And if wide receiver is no longer where you guys need a weapon because you already got Xavier Worthy and you got Rashee Rice coming back, then where is that need met? Where does that need to be met? It is in the running back room. I agree with Pat that I think they should be all right, but I'm looking for more than all right. I'm looking for a sure thing. And Alvin Kamara is a sure thing. Could Brashard Smith become that? Could Kareem Hunt continue to play the way he does? Could Isaiah Pacheco stay healthy and be effective? Yeah. But I'm not confident in that. I'm confident in what I know in Alvin Kamara. I'm confident that he could be that difference maker out of the backfield while mentoring Brashard Smith and helping him elevate his game. Because I've heard from several young receivers on this team, just having D-Hop for a couple of months on this offense made a world of difference for them. Xavier Worthy's talked about it. Rashee Rice has talked about it. And that is exactly what I was telling you guys 3 years ago when I wanted to trade for 2 years ago when I wanted to trade for D-Hop. He could be that mentor while being a difference maker. That's what I see from Alvin Kamara. Now, I also asked Pat Mahomes on the 65 Toss Power Talk show if he thinks, like I think, that the Chiefs put the league on notice.
Well, I know they put the league on notice because I've been watching TV the last couple of days, and everything now they're back in it. You know, everybody was burying them, and now all of a sudden they're back in it after one game. So, you know, that normally doesn't happen. And then you still got a couple of them that's trying to poo-poo it, saying that, you know, Baltimore's defense and this and that isn't that. I wasn't even so much worried about how many points we scored. I was worried about how we kept them down from scoring what they've been scoring every game.
Right.
But is it inevitable that we're going to get there? I wouldn't say that. You know, it's like anything else in sports. You got to have a lot of good luck on your side, you know, stay away from some of these injuries that, you know, there's a lot of guys getting hurt now, you know, and you got to stay away from them, you know. But the whole thing with us is we got to keep getting reps. And the more reps we get, the better I think it's going to look. You know, it probably will come down to, you know, us in Buffalo like it normally does, but other teams are getting better too. And each time that we go out and play, there's more and more tape for, you know, some of these great defensive coordinators to kind of figure out. So the main thing is having, you know, answers to the test questions, you know, because they're going to be tested. But as long as you got some answers that maybe you can solve some of these problems, I think we're going to be good.
Words of wisdom, if you ask me, man. Pat nailed it there. I mean, you got to avoid the injuries, got to have some luck, and you got to have answers to the test. I could not have said that better myself. And that is why I want to reiterate the point I'm trying to make about making sure the Chiefs have the weapons stacked, because we know these defensive coordinators are going to be gunning for the Chiefs. We know that they're going to do whatever they can to get pressure on Patrick, at least slow down his offensive weapons. And that's what's going to happen, like I said, guys, in January. I'm not worried about whether Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to sling the ball around in cold weather. We've seen him do it time and time again. But again, throughout this era, Patrick Mahomes has had reliable assets out of the backfield when they've won Super Bowls. That is the difference. And I know that people try to downplay what a running back is to today's NFL, but guys, there's a reason why the majority of teams that win have good running backs, have reliable running backs. I'm not saying you got to have Saquon Barkley. Those guys are one of one. You don't have to have Christian McCaffrey and elite talents like that. You don't have to have those guys. But you got to have reliable assets. You got to have dudes that you know week in, week out are going to be healthy and ready mentally, physically, emotionally to do the job they're asked to do. And I know in Andy Reid's offense, the job isn't going to be to get 25 carries a game. That's just not going to happen here. We didn't see that in 2023 when the Chiefs had receivers leading the league in drops. We didn't see that in 2024 when the Chiefs had literally everybody out and they were playing just piecemeal offense. So we know that's not going to be the reality here in Kansas City ever under Andy Reid. Having said that, though, running backs can be effective in this offense in a multitude of areas, and particularly being scat back guys that catch the ball out of the backfield, out of the flat, dump off screens, short screen plays, and the biggest thing is pass protection. You got to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes on plays that are going to take 3 to 5 seconds to perform. And that's why you're on the field in those plays, is to make sure that you give him that extended coverage on the outside or up front to make sure he ain't getting hit before that play that's going to require 3+ seconds to break down and to be able to him to find that second or third progression. So that is why I want to see the Chiefs add another piece to the equation. And I know that Breece Hall and guys like that are still on the minds of Chiefs fans. Guys, I get it. But Breece Hall and guys like that and Devon Achane are going to be guys that, first of all, you're going to have to give up even more valuable assets in the draft to go and get. But then you're going to have to turn around and pay them, because they're not going anywhere unless they're getting extensions, because they're both on the end of their rookie deals. And I just don't see that. I don't see Brett Veach spending real money on a running back this offseason. I just don't see that, especially in a trade. I don't see them giving two guys that also have an injury history real contracts, and both those guys are going to require $14 to $16 million a year. I do not think that's a Brett Veach type of trade and acquisition. I just don't see that happening. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think I'm going to be. I think I figured out Brett Veach pretty damn well. I've been pretty accurate on his movements and what I expect him to do, and I don't expect that to happen. I do fully expect that running back's going to be a top priority in their draft picks this upcoming year. We'll definitely talk about that as that time comes. But in the right now, a veteran presence in the running back room is very much needed, in my opinion. I don't think Elijah Mitchell's that answer. I think Kareem Hunt plays his role. I think Pacheco plays a role. I think Brashard Smith's going to continue to gain a role in this offense, and I'm totally okay with that. But if you were to ask me my opinion on what I see this offense still needs, it is without question an Alvin Kamara type of acquisition. Let's get to the Chiefs Jaguars preview, and I want to get to you guys obviously and speak it because I know you guys have some questions. So go ahead and make sure and get those questions in now, guys. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys did that, because I want to get to you guys as soon as humanly possible. You know, there's already been a ton of conversation here from the beginning of the show, and I really appreciate you guys for doing so. But I want to get to this matchup because I think that this is and I kind of alluded to it. Hinted at it in the Matt Pratt conversation, but I want to be able to say confidently that I think the Chiefs are taking on a good team this week, but I can't, and I'm going to try to explain why I feel that way as best as I possibly can. But in the NFL, every year we see teams that show us that they're a good team in a surprising fashion, that maybe teams weren't, or people weren't as high on, and they came out and like, damn, that, man, looking back, what were we waiting on? What were we, why were we sleeping on this team? This team was clearly a good team all along, and they just, continued to prove it. And then there's teams that are benefactors of their circumstance. And if I was to ask, or if I was to answer this right now, do I think the Jaguars are a good team or benefactors of their circumstance? I'm going to go with door number 2. And the biggest reason why is what I talked about with Matt Pratt, was the fact that if Liam Cohen coming in here, you saw a resurgence or an uptick in Trevor Lawrence, the way he's playing, I would think, okay, this team found their guy. Trevor Lawrence is becoming that dude. This is a team that is going to be, need to be respected for years to come, let alone this week. But I don't see that, and I need somebody to maybe convince me that we are seeing that, because I'm looking at this Jaguars team right now, and yes, right now if we look at their defensive, and this is via first things first, Jags this season defensively are 5th in scoring defense, 15th in total yards per game, 24th in offensive passing yards per game, 29th on third downs. That's terrible. But they're 1st in takeaways and 1st in opponent's passing rating. You look at that and you go, oh, okay, well, shit. This is a pretty damn good defense, because if you want to be bad somewhere, you want to be bad in yardage, but on points and takeaways, they're elite. You can't take that away from them. But guys, they've faced the 23rd, 26th, 29th, and 30th ranked offenses so far this season. These are the quarterbacks they've faced so far this year. Bryce Young, Jake Browning, CJ Stroud, and Mac Jones' backup, also known as Brock Purdy. Yeah, I said it. That's not really a murderer's row, guys, of quarterbacks. Yeah, CJ Stroud is super talented, but since his rookie year, he's not even been a top 14, 15 quarterback in the league. That's the best they've faced. I mean, they struggled against Jake Browning, who threw multiple picks in that game. They lost that game. Like, and the biggest reason why they lost that game is because Trevor Lawrence was bad. Like objectively bad. And while he was objectively bad, let's look at what Patrick Mahomes has been against the Jaguars, and it's objectively good. 5-0 against them. Completes 70% of his passes, almost 323 yards per game. Yards per pass, 8.6. That's a career high, I think, for Patrick. Touchdown to turnover ratio, 12-4. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio, guys. And at 107-108 quarterback ranking. That's one of the two teams. This again via First Things First. One of two teams he's 5-0 or better against, and San Francisco's the other one. In other words, man, if this is just one of those teams that Patrick dominates. And I know that they're a good defense on paper. But when you look at who they have faced so far, if they did this against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, if they did this against Josh Allen and the Bills, if they did this against a healthy Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I'd give them the respect. If they do this against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who have gotten healthier, I will give them the respect. But right now, I have to kind of question the notion, man. I have to kind of question whether this team is really what their numbers indicate. I don't think they are. I don't think the Chiefs are going into a place this week where they're going to have to really worry about being able to manufacture points. Do I think the Chiefs are going to drop 37 against the Jaguars? No. Because to their respect, to their credit, they're not nearly as banged up as the Ravens. And I don't think that this is going to be a game where the Chiefs feel like they need to go out there and make that type of statement. I felt like they needed to make that statement this week against the Ravens because the Ravens, to their credit, are a formidable foe that are constantly in the mix for contending for the AFC. And I think the Chiefs wanted to go out there and make a statement, and that's what they did. And so this is why I think that this game naturally is going to be a little bit closer. And I say that loosely because I'm going to be real with you guys. I know the Jaguars come into this game as the home team, the better record, but there's a reason why they're home underdogs against the Chiefs. And in fact, I think the line is 3.5. I'm going to hammer that line. I'm going to hammer that line because this is a game that is, I believe, a combination of the Chiefs getting better and on the ascension, and we know how this goes every single time they are on the ascent. And they're facing a team that I think is just flatly overrated. And I'm not saying the Jags are getting a ton of credit because, again, they're 3.5-point dogs at home, which means they'd probably be a touchdown dog in Arrowhead. I don't see how the Jaguars win this game. Their biggest strength right now is feasting on bad quarterback play and bad teams, and Travis Etienne being a damn good running back this season. I mean, I'm going to give him credit. He's been very, very good. The Chiefs' defense's biggest strength has been what? Stopping rush attacks. They took Derrick Henry out of the damn game last week. Spags is so great as the Chiefs DC that he makes teams forget about their best players sometimes. That is a profound talent. That is what makes Spags so elite in what he does. And I think the Chiefs are going to replicate that this week. I think you're going to see a Chiefs defense that's saying, all right, you're going to have to beat us without Travis Etienne this week. And you know what? Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. decides to break out of this weird-ass slump and has himself a game, plays well. And you know what? If that happens, tip of the cap to the Jaguars for finding a way to get him going. If Travis Hunter finally looks like a guy that you'd trade your future for to go and get, hats off to you. The dude's super talented. They finally found a way to make it click. But I don't think this is the defense you do that against. Because even if they focus all their energy on Travis Etienne and slowing him down, I think the Chiefs have enough dogs on the defensive side to slow down whoever else they try to counter it with. Spags last week, as Matt Pratt brought up earlier, Spags pretty much just let the Ravens go down the field and do what they wanted to do on their opening drive. And he said, okay, everything you just did, you're not doing anymore. And they scored, 6 more real points for the rest of the game? I know they scored that touchdown at the end of the game. The game was already over. So they scored 6 more points for the rest of the game in real fashion. Spags puts the clamps on you, and when he puts the clamps on you, there's nothing you can do. And outside of any unforeseen injuries in this game, with the Chiefs having everybody practicing on both sides of the ball, literally every player practiced this week. Christian Fulton is expected to play. Mike Dana is expected to play. I think that now that you're getting a healthy, resurgent Chiefs team, I think the Jags are catching them at the worst time imaginable. This is going to be one of those games where it almost, I think that this might even be kind of a boring game. Because I think the Chiefs are going to do just what they need to do offensively to get the W, and they're going to go out and realize they got some big games coming up. They got the Lions next week. They got a divisional game against the Raiders with Rasheed coming back. They have the Commanders coming up. They have the Bills coming up. You have the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. You have 5 of your 6 divisional games are still on the Chiefs' schedule. I think they look at this game as, let's go, let's get it done. Let's score enough points. Let's play methodical. Like I said, I think it might even be kind of a boring game because I think the Chiefs defense is going to shut the Jaguars offense down. So much so that I think the Jaguars only score 1 touchdown in this game. I don't really care about the whole mystique thing. I've told you guys, mystique my meat. I've said that on this show. I don't care about it. But I do think it's back. I do think other people care about it. People in the NFL, like players. And if you got a candid, honest response out of the Jaguars, you know that this is not just some game to them. Knowing they're hosting the Chiefs after what the Chiefs just did to the Ravens and essentially broke the Ravens and essentially ended their season, you can't convince me that the Jags are looking at this game going, oh, well, we just play our game and just do it the right way. Things are going to go right for us. We can find a way to win. No, I don't believe that for a second. I do not believe that for a second. I think that the Jags are looking at this game and they're going to feel the pressure of expectation to show what they can do against a Super Bowl favorite, against a dynasty. And I don't think they're ready for that pressure. I think Liam Cohen can be a fine coach, even though he was pretty much asking for death, sweet, quick death against Robert Saleh the other day. I wouldn't have done that if I was Liam Cohen, but he's got balls. So that's, respect to him. And maybe he will be a damn good coach. Maybe he will fix Trevor Lawrence. But I don't work in the world of maybes. I work in the world of what is. And I know what this Chiefs team is. And they got their dogs back. They're waiting on their biggest dog to come back, but they got dogs right now. And you saw what this offense can and will do. I am in no way fearful of this Jaguars team. I don't think anybody should be fearful of this team. I don't think they possess the firepower. If, in fact, this game was to become a shootout, I don't think they have the firepower from their quarterback position alone to do what they need to do to beat this Chiefs team in any type of game. Slower game, lower scoring game, higher fast-paced game, higher scoring game. I don't see that scenario. So I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game handily. I think this can be a 10-point victory for the Chiefs. 8 to 10 points. I think that's what it's going to be. And I think, like I said, this could be a very boring game where the Chiefs hold the Jaguars to a touchdown and a couple field goals. And we're sitting here talking about them being the face of the AFC once again at the top of the hill while the Bills continue to play DeVry University. The Chiefs are out here beating real teams, and I think they're going to continue to do that. And so I'm looking at X factors in this game. I'm going to keep it consistent. Last week I said Leo Chanel and Juwan Taylor, and that ended up boding pretty damn well for me, if I might say. I'm going to say the exact 2 players again, because Leo Chanel is showing us this dude is a freak athlete who made a freakishly awesome interception again when guarding Mark Andrews down the sidelines. That's a play very few linebackers in this league can make. And that's in an evolutionary era of linebackers. This league has got some freakishly talented linebackers, and he made a play that I think very few of them can make. Maybe Fred Warner and a few other guys can make that play. I think Leo Chanel is going to be the guy that is going to be tasked to watch Travis Etienne, him and Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil. So pretty much the linebacker core as a whole is on my watch this week, but I think Leo Chanel is going to be a guy that makes some big plays in this one. And I'm looking for 5-4 to be utilized in a lot of different ways in this game, and I think you guys should as well. So pay attention to 5-4. Pay attention to Leo Chanel this week, And the reason I'm sticking with Juwan Taylor is because some people might forget, but this is a homecoming for Juwan Taylor. He's going back to Jacksonville to take on the team that essentially gave up on him. They didn't pay him. He wanted to stay in Jacksonville, and they didn't pay him. The Chiefs did. I think this is a game that he continues the trend of what he's been doing this last week. I told you guys that I wanted to hear Juwan Taylor's name 0 times in that Ravens game, and we heard his name 0 times. Juwan Taylor did not have a penalty against the Ravens. He looked actually very solid in that game. Now you could say it's because the Ravens pass rush is terrible. The Jaguars have a better pass rush. Fine. Challenge accepted. I'm expecting Juwan Taylor to go out there and have another awesome game where we don't hear his name, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. And we'll see him continue doing what he's doing, and build off that Ravens game and have back-to-back solid games. So Leo Chanel, Juwan Taylor are my guys, my X factors for this game. If I had to give you guys a score right now, I think it's going to be something. I think Matt Pratt said the same thing, about 24 points for the Chiefs. I could see Patrick have another 2 or 3 touchdown game. By the way, did you guys notice I predicted that Patrick Mahomes was going to have 4 touchdowns last week? I'm just saying. But I think this is a little bit of a lower scoring game. Like I said, I think it could be damn near borderline boring for us because I think the Chiefs defense is going to play really, really well. The weather is something to also pay attention to, which might lean into my reason for it being a little bit of a lower scoring game. It sounds like there's going to be some rain. We know how it gets down in Florida. It gets weird and wild real quick down there. So pay attention to that. It is natural grass, obviously, which is something that we feel more comfortable with for this matchup. But I fully expect Patrick to throw the ball 30 plus times. Obviously, I do think he's going to get at least 2 touchdowns in this one. I think the Chiefs score roughly around 24, anywhere from 24 to 27 points, and I think the Jaguars score at most in this game 16. I think it's going to be around 13 to 16 points. Spags is in his bags, as I always say. He's got the nucleus gelling. I think Chris Jones is going to be an absolute disruptor in this one because I don't like the Jaguars' offensive line. I think that this is a game where your veterans do their damn thing, and these young guys, like I said, Noel Williams, Ashton Gelati, and dudes like that, start to get an uptick in snap counts as well. Because Charles Minhu's just simply not doing it, and Christian Fulton right now has just not been healthy enough. I do expect Christian Fulton to play because he is practicing, and he is a guy. He's the only guy in the defensive back room that's actually making any real money on this team. So I do expect him to play plenty. But Noel Williams is going to start getting an uptick in snaps. That's a good thing for the Chiefs moving forward. So 24-16, 24-13, something like that is what I'm expecting in this one. Would love to see the Chiefs score more points than that. I'll definitely take it, but I don't think they're going to have to. I don't think they feel that urgency this week against a team that I think they can hold under 20, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to get ready for some of these other higher scoring offenses down the pike. So that's my prediction. Give me your guys' predictions because it is time, of course, for Speak It, where you guys give me your questions, your takes, your topics, your concerns, your comments, whatever you guys have for me. Let's get to it right now. Starting off the top, our guy Dustin Orton asked the first question. Speak It. What are your honest thoughts on Brashad Smith and his future for the Chiefs? So, kind of alluded to it a little bit today. I'm optimistic on the kid. I really like what I've seen from him because, like I said, the biggest thing for me is, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable in the offense? Do you look confident? Do you look confident in your skin? Do you look confident in your jersey? If you do, then I think more times than not, you're going to be successful. And I think that you're seeing already early on in the first month and change of Brashad Smith's career, he looks like a guy that's comfortable. He looks like a guy that feels like he belongs, that looks like he belongs. And maybe it's just by default because this running back room isn't good. But from what I've seen so far, the kid is a guy that I think the Chiefs can and will utilize both in offense and in special teams. Now, Nick Remigio has that job locked down, but we've seen Brashad Smith return on the kickoffs, and he's looked damn good as well. So, yeah, I like what the kid does, and I think he's going to continue to be an uptick and a confidence boost for the Chiefs moving forward. Our guy Dustin Orton asked another question. Think the A.J. Brown issue is going to cost the Eagles? I think, as weird as this sounds, because I know they're undefeated, I think it already is because the Eagles are having to spend time talking about it. And that's not something I think an immature coach like Nick Sirianni can really handle for a long period of time. This is going to become something that will play a detriment for them, and I will talk about that later, obviously. But yes, I do think it will ultimately cost the Eagles moving forward. Our guy, May H. Think Rice will take some time to warm up to playing again. Yeah, I definitely think that. Not as much as I think that we might assume because of the fact he's not coming off of an injury. He is, but he isn't. He hasn't missed time this season because of injury. If the suspension didn't happen, he'd play week 1. So I think he's physically ready to go, but I do think getting in a rhythm, it's going to take some time, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to try to get him in rhythm by getting him the ball early as well, building his confidence and me to get those hands going, making him feel like he's a part of the offense because he's going to be, I think he's going to be the single most important piece that Patrick uses moving forward this season. I know that Xavier Worthy's going to be a big playmaker. Obviously, Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce and the other guys are going to continue to do their thing. Tyquan Thornton, Juju, guys like that. But I think Rasheed's going to be that pivotal piece that moves the ball on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, in those slant patterns, those dig routes. That's where he's going to be. I said this on Twitter the other day, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but watching the Rams and watching Puka Nacua, I see a lot of similarities in their game, and Rashee Rice and Puka Nacua. I think they play a lot alike. I think Puka's obviously the better player at this point. His production is just unbelievably absurd. But the way they play and what they're asked to do is a lot of what I think Rashee Rice is going to be asked to do and continue to be asked to do in this offense. And the cool thing about it is we don't really know how good Rashee Rice still is. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is. I know what his floor is, and his floor is very fucking high. I think he's going to be a dude that is going to gradually get better and better and better. Obviously, if that knee holds up, which I expect it to, we see the development of ACL injuries and how they get better as time goes on in today's world. I do fully expect Rashee Rice to continue to get better. But I was looking at that and I was like, man, they kind of resemble each other. We'll see how that goes. Our person here, Super Devil Juice, love the name. Question: do you think we are looking for a DT anymore? No, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be looking this year as far as the free agent market or the trade market for a DT. I think Omar Norman-Lott is showing the Chiefs some confidence out of that second-round pick. Jerry Tillery looks solid against the Ravens. Obviously, Chris Jones is one of the best we've ever seen. I think they just have a collection of bodies there. Derek Nottie, guys like that, they're going to play their role. I don't love the room, but I don't hate it either. I think they could have done a better job, but given the fact you're paying Chris Jones what you're paying him and you invested a second-round pick at that position, I think they're doing a solid job there, and I don't expect them to look at for another player at that position this season. I do expect, though, in the draft, you're going to see the Chiefs prioritize that position as well and continue to add some young pieces to the equation. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. I don't see a lot of questions, a lot of chat, which is great to see. I love that you guys are all talking amongst yourselves. That is obviously what I love to see. Okay. Cell32 Alt has a question for us here. Speaking, it's funny how everyone gets injury excuses, but when we are hurt, it didn't matter. Disrespectful at this point to put Lamar on Pat's level. Not really a question, but I get where you're coming from here, Cell, because that is the truth. This last year, and even into this year, the Chiefs have had nothing but injuries, and injuries at the biggest, most key positions. Left tackle, non-existent. Wide receiver, tons of injuries. Running back, injuries. Long-term injuries. Defensive end, Minhu goes down again last season. Like, there's all these things the Chiefs had to overcome, and they did overcome. And people were sitting here talking about, well, why are the Chiefs blowing teams out? The Chiefs just don't look the same. Well, no shit. They are missing half of their damn roster, and it's the skill positions, no less. So, yeah, it was never viewed as an excuse. People used it against him constantly whenever they had the opportunity. Now the Ravens are dealing with this very same problem, and it's, well, the Chiefs beat them, but let's be honest here. No, it's a bunch of bullshit, dude, and I'm with you on that completely. It is a frustration. It is a growing frustration of mine that I don't think is fairly attributized, if you will, from the national media in particular, because you notice the Chiefs blow them out, and that's the viewpoint. It isn't, hey, they got healthy finally. The Chiefs finally got one of their weapons back, and what do you know? They scored 37 points. No, it's unfortunately not viewed that way, and that sucks. Steve Ledbetter says, love your shirt. I appreciate it. If you guys don't know, we're officially in spooky season, damn it. It is October, the first show of October, so I thought I'd pay homage to the GOAT, Michael Myers. That is the single greatest slasher film of all time. Rewatch it with Trevor all the time, man. That's one of our favorites. And our guy Steve Ledbetter asks this question. Hey, Lance, just wondered, do you like Halloween too? I love all the Halloweens except some of the newer ones. I'm going to be honest with you. We stick to sports here on the show, but I will briefly just say that Trevor would kill me if he was across from me right now. That's okay. I can say it now because he's not within arm's reach. The last Halloween movie was complete ass. Absolutely hated it. It was an absolute joke. I was laughing in the theaters. Asked Trevor. He was sitting next to me. He was trying to assault me in public. But yeah, I liked all the startups, the ones that started this bad boy. Some of them were cheesy as hell, and Trevor would say that right now. They're all cheesy. Yeah, well, some of them were cheesy and okay. Some of them were cheesy and fucking terrible, and that was the last one for sure. All right, so our guy Noah John Marshall, speak it. Let's keep it simple. The Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. Noah John Marshall, I have not moved off my stance one bit, buddy. Even when the Chiefs were down 0-2 and the Chargers were up 2-0 with a win over the Chiefs, I didn't budge. The Chargers are a good team. They have a really good head coach. They have a good quarterback. But there's a reason why I picked this team to finish last in the AFC West. Now, that may not happen because the Raiders are fucking horrible and the Broncos can't beat a good quarterback. So maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I'm not budging off the Chiefs winning this division still because, one, there are still 13 games to go, and the Chiefs play the Chargers one more time, that time in Arrowhead, not in another country, to start the season off where you lose your best receiver within 3 plays. But the Chargers continue to lose important pieces as well, and this is something I anticipated. I know you can't technically predict injuries, but when it comes to the Chargers, you kind of can, because this just kind of happens every year. And furthermore, they don't really, Quentin Johnston's really come about, and I'm going to give him credit, but simultaneously, Ladd McConkey's taken a massive step back. They also lost one of their offseason acquisitions in Najee Harris for the season with an Achilles tear, which sucks. But now it's all on the Marion Hampton, a rookie running back, and I think that's unfair, especially when he's lost both of his tackles, and Mekhi Becton's hurt as well. The vibes around the Chargers just aren't good. And losing to the Giants, who just a week ago took an L to the Chiefs, who are trailing the Chargers currently, that's a bad sign. You could say, well, that's just a one-off. They lost that game. Dude, Justin Herbert is getting hit like crazy. And I know that Giants front seven is nasty. But you look at the way Herbert is just getting used and abused in that pocket, throwing a bad interception, the vibes for me are just not good with this team right now. I'm expecting Jim Harbaugh to get this team to the postseason probably. The start they've had now, it'll probably get them in the postseason because the AFC is kind of down. But the Chiefs are going to win this division, guys. I still think the Chiefs are going to win 13-plus games. I really do. I think the Chiefs are going to have a very, very long winning streak coming about. And when that happens, I think that's what you're going to start to see is the shift. And I think you're already seeing it. Because like I said, losing to the Giants a week after the Chiefs beat them is like fucking poetry. In the most negative way for the Chargers, the most positive way for the Chiefs. That's a bad loss. And I think that you're going to see the Chargers lose this week to the Commanders, who are getting Jaden Daniels back this week as well. I think the Chargers are going to lose back-to-back games. That's how I see this thing going. But I appreciate you, Noah John. He says, love you here, man. Love you as well, bro. Thank you for being here. And thank you for always chiming in on the show, dude. That's a big thing to us here, man. We never take that lightly. So yeah. So yes, I will give a shout out here to our guy Chief Fan in Colorado. Hey Lance, if you can give a shout out about the Hope Kids fundraiser on October 18th, Inglewood Art Center. All proceeds go to Hope Kids, and kids eat free. So if you guys would be so kind to take part in this is for my guy Jerome here. They are heavily involved in this Hope Kids. I know that that's a big thing amongst the Chiefs community. I am planning on being there on October 18th as well. So if you guys want to come and tag along, that would be awesome just in a couple weeks. So if you guys want to tag along and give towards children, that is obviously the future of this world, let alone this country. We need to start taking their needs a lot more seriously because that's clearly not at the forefront right now when it comes to taking care of children. There are good people like Jerome and Hope Kids that are doing that, though. So if you guys would like to contribute to that, there it is right there. Hit him up, Chief Fan in Colorado. Hit up Jerome. Figure out how you guys can help out as well, or just show up to the event like you see here at Inglewood Art Center. Be a part of that as well as I will be. All right, guys. That is pretty much all the questions I see right now. I appreciate all you guys for contributing to the show today. Yeah, man, this has been a fun show. Our guy Matt Pratt obviously brought it. So we have one more order of business to get to, and I believe it is called Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who's ever holding the L in the world of sports today deserve that L in the world of sports. First and foremost, I want to give a W to Kyle Shanahan. In case you guys missed that game on Thursday night, I'm speechless. The 49ers were down their starting quarterback who's making $260 million. Their starting tight end, who's a Hall of Famer, probably. Their top 3 wide receivers. I mean, they're so inept at wide receiver. They had Sky Moore, MVS playing, and Demarcus Robinson out there playing. You know, guys that Pat Mahomes won the Super Bowls with. They're down their best pass rusher, Nick Bosa, playing a Rams team at home on a short week, who are fully loaded with an awesome defense, the best receiver in football right now in Puka Nacua. Matt Stafford just had one of his best games of his career, ends up having another one of his best games of his career this week, and they still beat him. The Rams at kickoff were 8.5-point favorites. Not even making that up. And they won. Mac Jones looked incredible. Dude had one leg out there. I mean, he's literally hopping around like Phillip Rivers in the AFC Championship of 2006. And he looked incredible. Christian McCaffrey had like 18 touches in the first half. Kendrick Bourne turned into Jason Bourne out there. I mean, the contributions they got from these role players is all credit to the coaching. Robert Saleh coming back. Dude, 5 games, and the Niners have not given up a touchdown in the first quarter of any of those 5 games. This coaching staff is unreal. Kyle Shanahan is in his prime right now, man. Like, this dude, outside of Andy Reid, I don't know if there's a better coach. I know Sean McVay's up there, Kevin O'Connell, other guys like that. There's some really good coaches in this league, man. I don't know if there's anybody better outside of Andy Reid than Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if anybody could get that out of that team more than Kyle Shanahan did. So hats off to him. Give the dub to him. My God, that was just an incredible masterclass. And let's be real, man. The dude owns Sean McVay. I think he's beaten him like 8 out of the last 10 times they faced. So, yeah, man, it's incredible. Our guy Noah John just said that right now. Does he know the overtime rules now? Yeah, well, he must have learned them. He must have learned them now because he clearly didn't know when he faced the Chiefs the second time in the Super Bowl. Our guy, before I get to my L here, Todd Tolfree. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, brother. But Todd Tolfree had this very kind comment to add to the show. Love the show, Lance. New subscriber. I can't wait to play the fraudster Buffalo Bills ESPN soulmate. They hide their fatal flaw is defense. Yes. First of all, Todd, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. Hope that you continue to chime in, bro. We want everybody, like I always say it, we're not here to talk at you. We're here to talk with you. It's a community-driven show. We have an incredible audience, an incredible community here, and I'm glad you want to be a part of it. So thank you first and foremost. When it comes to the Bills, I could not agree more. I had a stat yesterday that I dropped out there that I think is very much important for the season moving forward, about how everyone's just glossing over the Bills. Like I said, who's playing DeVry University's football team every damn week. This is what I want to pay attention. The Bills are currently on pace to allow 2,792 rushing yards this season. To put that into context, since 1986, only 2 defenses have allowed more rushing yards for an entire season. That was the 2022 Texans and 2024 Panthers. If you remember anything about those 2 teams, they sucked. Now, I don't think the Bills suck, but I do believe that their defense does. They are literally 1 rushing yard away right now from being dead last in the league. They made the Saints look like a 10-win team last week at home, which feels like the Buffalo Bills play at home every damn week. It's hilarious. They're back at home again. Imagine that against the Patriots. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys this right now before I get to my L. I know I said this is hold this L, but I am predicting that the Chargers and the Bills lose this week. I believe the Patriots are going to go into Highmark Stadium in Buffalo and win that game, and I believe that the Chargers are going to take another L back-to-back weeks to the Jaden Daniels-led Commanders. So I'm going to put that out there right now. You guys will get my full slate of predictions tomorrow morning before the game kicks off between the Vikings and the Browns. We'll have that full slate for you guys on Facebook and on Twitter. But I just wanted to put that out there on video so I can use this clip when the time comes. So yeah, I'm picking against the Bills and the Chargers this week. Let's get to our guy John Harrison. I know I'm delaying the L, guys, but I always got to get to John. Did you see the old footage in 23 of Orlovsky saying Mac Jones would play like Purdy if he was in San Francisco, and Rex Ryan's reaction? Yes, I did. And it was absolutely hilarious because I love any opportunity that Rex Ryan can look bad. And I'll give Orlovsky credit. He nailed that. And to Kyle, I'll give Kyle Shanahan credit, but I'm also going to laugh at John Lynch for giving Brock Purdy $260 million to basically look like Mac Jones' backup. Because the one loss that the Niners have this season is the one game that Brock Purdy played. And the 4 wins they have are with Mac Jones, unless I'm mistaken. But yeah, I know that he was at least 3-0 in his starts this season. And I was not a Mac Jones fan by any means. I have a lot of respect for him now. He went out there and gave practically his damn life. I know it sounds very hyperbolic, but he was out there dry heaving on the sidelines, having to eat bananas nonstop to keep his body from cramping up. His leg was killing him. He's limping all over the damn place. He was basically showing his ass out there because he was getting hit so much his pants fell. And he went out there and got a dub against a divisional foe as a standalone game in a short week on a much healthier team. So shout out to those guys for doing what they did. My L, this is going to be maybe the weirdest L I've ever given. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it now. It is the weirdest L I've ever have to give. My L is going to winning. Yeah, I know that sounds really weird to say, but I'm giving my L to winning. I never thought I would say that. And you're probably like, how the hell does that even make sense, Lance? Well, hear me out. There's that common saying that people use that winning cures all. And I used to believe that, actually. I used to think that, hey, man, things are going bad for a certain player or individual, but you know what? If the team's winning, they're going to everything's going to be fine. They'll chug along, they'll fall in line because they're winning at the end of the day, and that's what matters, right? Yeah, not for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, just this last week, after the Eagles won their 4th consecutive game, I think like 19 of their last 20 games, put this out there. Passive-aggressive, very much on brand for a wide receiver in the NFL. Quote, if you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw, don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way. What the fuck, AJ? Now, I will say this. I understand to a degree what A.J. Brown is feeling and saying because he wants to be a contributor. He wants to put up numbers, and rightfully so, man. Look, when you're a guy out there on an island like a wide receiver or a cornerback, you got to have a little bit of an ego. So I get it. You want to be one of the bigger reasons why the team is winning. Totally get it. This team traded for you. They spent all this money on you. Naturally, you should be a contributor to the team. But you know what? At least A.J. Brown's gotten a Super Bowl now, and he's got to be happy. Wait a second. This is right after the Super Bowl. This is from A.J. Brown. Would you look at it? He said, after a few days, I've had time to reflect on being a champion. I tried to feel how everyone made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately, it was short-lived. 2 days, to be exact, LOL. I've never been a champion at the highest level before, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head in surrender because he can't F with me. The intense battles, early mornings, late nights, sacrifices. I love putting smiles on people's faces. Don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It's the journey that I love the most. Back to work. What the fuck, AJ? Somehow, some way, this man has defeated winning. Tip of the cap to you, brother. Somehow, some way, this dude has managed to give an L to winning, and I have to follow suit because he is literally telling us, and I appreciate his honesty. Most players, they give us canned responses. They keep everything to the vest, and they don't ever tell us anything. He is literally telling us that winning does not cure all. that even though he just won a Super Bowl and this team is one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl again because they're a good team, a damn good team, I might add, he's saying that because I'm not dominating my opposition and it's not about what I'm doing, I'm not happy. This is a revelation to me. I've played sports my entire life. I have watched sports my entire life. I have never seen a situation quite like this. Where, and we've seen guys like this on bad teams and stuff like that. They're getting pissed off and frustrated because they're not getting their numbers and they're not winning. But then those guys will go to a good team and you don't really hear this from them. A.J. Brown was literally that guy in Tennessee. They weren't winning. He was putting up good numbers. Didn't want to, I mean, the Titans clearly didn't want to keep him. They traded his ass off, and that was the downfall of the Vrabel era. And Vrabel, to this day, I'm sure would gladly take A.J. Brown back. He would fit a role in New England, by the way. But this is him admitting to us that it's almost as if he would rather be with the Tennessee Titans because he at least would be putting up numbers, but they wouldn't be winning. That is such a twisted way. I get where he's coming from. I would want to be a contributor to a team as well. I'd want to, if I'm making the money and we're on a good team, I want to play a real role. And he's not. You know, and when you have a quarterback that's 0 for 8 for 0 yards in the second half of a game you win, it can be probably a little confusing, but you're still winning, and winning is not enough. So for that, winning, you got to do me a solid, Charlie Sheen, close your ears, and hold this L, because you took your first L ever winning. Whew. These solo shows are tasking, guys, but you know what? We have fun no matter what. It's not the same without Trev, but you know what? Like I said, he's got bigger and better things going on. Hopefully Scarlett's doing well. I will be checking with him after the show. But I want to thank every single one of you guys for making the show what it is, and that definitely includes my brother, Matt Pratt. Matt Pratt is, like I said, one of the most respected, one of the best voices out there in the Chiefs community. Definitely give him a follow. If you guys are on X, if you guys are on Twitter, I call it Twitter to this day because it needs to be Twitter. It is Twitter. Give him a follow at Matt Talks Things. One of the best voices out there, guys, and I just have nothing but respect for the dude. And we'll definitely be having him back on this show. Give us a shout out also at the 65 Toss Power Talk Show on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. It's Shaggy Shane, myself, and just a litany of guests, man. A list of guests that we have. We just had Pat Mahomes Sr. on. We've obviously had Mr. Matt Pratt on. We've had former Chief and Raider Harvey Williams on the show as well. Those guys will be in the rotation, if you will. But yes, either way, man, we appreciate every single one of you guys that chimes into this show, chimes into the 65 Toss Power Show on Tuesday nights. We're going to keep this bad boy rolling. I cannot thank you guys enough to tell you the top, tell you the bottom of every single show. If you've not already done it, go to YouTube, go to the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, hit share, hit notify, hit likes, all the cool buttons you got on there. But get in the comment button more than anything. Chime in, tune in, do your thing. That is what we need what we need from you guys, what I'm asking from you guys, and we cannot thank you guys enough for being the great people that you are. So for the missing Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things at Red Tribe Cinema, which by the way, he dropped an awesome new video. Definitely check that out. I'm Lance Twidwell. Episode 330. Cannot believe we're at 330, man. Episode 330 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we are back here in 1 week's time for episode 331, we out of this bitch.